Good morning, everyone. Today, my group members will be presenting on the rational organization of ethics and employees. My group members include Alisha Pop, Esmeralda Quintanilla, Jenna Martinez, Jeferson Pop, Rubiel Cowo, and myself, Arianie Novelo. Our main objectives for today are to state what is rational organization, to explain formal hierarchies of authorities, to describe employees' obligation to the employers and the conflict of interest. What are the ethics of insider training? And to explain the scenario, insider training of what are friends for?
Okay, so what is the rational organization theory? Well, it is the idea that an organization has and use it as a tool in order to achieve their priority, which makes it a goal or a set of goals, right? So this is a formal structure which could identify the relationship they have within themselves as member of the organization. And this is in order to achieve the goal with maximum efficiency.
What is formal hierarchies of authorities? Formal hierarchies of authorities are positions and relationship that is identified within an organization. They display the lines of authority in the organization and the positions they play. So the at the top we have the top management, we have the middle management afterwards, and then we have the operating layer. The top management is what we call the CEO or the board of directors within a company. The middle managers, we have them overseeing the operating layer, and they are overseen by the top management. The operating layer is farmers, foremen, and people who produce the goods and services of each company. And what binds these layers together? A contract. A contract is responsible for outlining the duties and the responsibilities of a company, and it also have a similar goal for all of the layers. So they share the exact same goal in order to pursue the goals of the company. Then we also have what we call a reciprocal moral obligation. And these include of two things: the obligation of the employee to the employer to remain loyal and obey organizational superiors, and to avoid any activities that might threaten these goals. Then we have the employer to the employee. This has to do with the employer providing the just wage and just working conditions for the employee.
In addition to this, we have the employee's obligation to the employers. Well, so the employees commitment is to work towards their objectives and circumventing the harmful activities for the goals, right, that might affect the company. For instance, we have here that the financial managers have this contractual duty to the firms and its investor because they have contacted to provide the firm with their best judgment, right? So therefore, the law of agency specifies that the legal duties of the agents known as the employees towards the principals known as the employers. And so we could also include that the employees must do nothing which can bring conflict while on the long run of the goals.
Conflict of interest. So, in simple words, conflict of interest occurs when an employee has an interest that provides an incentive to do his or her job in a way that serves that interest, and not necessarily that the interest of the employer he or she is obliged to serve. For example, let's say I am an employee of a large company and I have the job of choosing the supplier from which my employer will buy raw materials. Now, suppose I also own a small firm that makes the kind of raw materials my employer needs. Then my interest in having my own firm makes to make money gives me an incentive to choose my firm to supply the raw materials even if it does not offer the best terms to my employer. So interests that are based on financial relationships are called objective conflicts of interest. and interests that are based on emotional ties or other kind of relationships are called subjective conflicts of interest. Now, conflicts of interest can be potential or actual. And then a potential conflict of interest is basically an interest of a task that the employee wants to perform, but he or she has not yet been given that task. Whereas an actual conflict of interest is the opposite. The employee has an interest on a certain task, but he or she has been given that task to perform. And, and conflicts of interest can be avoided or eliminated. Number one, you can recuse yourself from the task in which the conflict of interest arises. Number two, you can eliminate the interest that might give you an incentive to serve that interest. Number three, you can eliminate or change your obligation to do the task in a way that serves that interest of the company. And conflicts of interest can be created by a variety of different kinds of situations. The employee might steal from the firm, or the employee might use your position as leverage for illicit benefits out of others through extortion or commercial bribery. So, extorting or accepting a bribe obviously creates a conflict of interest that violates the employee's contractual agreement to the employer.
Insiders trading. So, insiders trading is the illegal practice of trading on the stock exchange to one's own advantage by having access to confidential information. So, here are the ethics. The first one says insider trading is said to be unethical because it's theft of information that gives the insider an unfair advantage. So, insider trading is considered unethical because, apart from being illegal, it's claimed that person who trades on insider information in effect steals information and therefore gains an unfair advantage over the general public. But there are also people who don't believe that, and these are their defenses. That first of all, it ensures that stock prices reflect the true value of the stock. Second, it harms no one. And third, having an advantage over others in the stock market is not wrong in itself and it's common with experts. First of all, they state that when insiders bring their inside information to the stock market, that it bids on the price of the stock, so that its stock market price rises to reflect the true value of the stock. Secondly, they say regardless of whether they sell to the insiders, they will get whatever the current market price of their stock before the insider enter the market. And thirdly, people who buy and sell stock on the stock market have better information. So there is nothing wrong about their use of information to buy or sell stock. On the other hand, these defenses have been criticized, and there are three critics. The first one, the information the insiders use is not theirs and so it's stolen. Secondly, trading on inside information has harmful effect on the stock market and increases the cost of buying and selling stock. Thirdly, the advantage of an insider trader is not like the advantage of an expert, because unlike an expert, it is based on theft. So the first critique is that persons who work inside a company are aware of the insider event. So employees have an ethical duty to refrain from using a company's information to benefit themselves or others. Secondly, they argue that more insiders there are, the more a specialist must raise his fee, which become costly to trade that stock. Lastly, insider trading is unethical because it violates stockholders' rights, which is based on unjust information advantage and harms society overall utility.
Next, we have the scenario, which is named Insider Trading or What Are Friends For? So, I will be summarizing the scenario. So, to summarize, Donald and Noah Freeman are close friends and both work for the same company, where they later met Samir and his close friend named Flom. So, all of them work for the primary global research company. And one day, a person named Winfred approached Noah and Flom about telling them about another's company's revenue, profits, and so on. So the two friends told this information to their close friends, Donald and Samir. So the information they received were another's company information before it was published by the company itself. So both Samir and Donald profited money from it before the information was published, and in 2010, an FBI approached Noah and Flom and told them to testify against their friends because if they don't, they get involved as well. So they agreed and they testified against them, and the company said that they had no clue about what their employees were doing.
From this scenario, we can see that they were all morally wrong in how they all acted by using privileged information to make a profit. Because they all got information before it was announced, and all four men played their roles in delivering the information among themselves. Yet only Samir and Donald did went ahead with it. In the instance for a free man, it appears that he was the one who gave Longiel the information he traded on, and he was also the one who videotaped him talking about it for the FBI. So we can see betrayal. In ethics of care, I think the action of those involved were morally wrong. An ethic of care would say that it was important to protect their best friends, and insider trading is a critical issue that the government should address since many people obtained this knowledge before it was made public, resulting in some type of fraud or theft. And we can say that both were morally accountable since primary global research firm has the obligation to know the whereabouts or details of the employee's activities and how it might affect them, either positively or negatively. Therefore, this is why insider trading is important to learn so employees and employers know the situation.
These are our reference, and thank you.